Welcome to your Pinnacle Potential podcast, where we have an authentic conversation with you as well as various professionals about how, why, and when to take the right steps forward to eventually reach our pinnacle health potential. As we reflect on these ideas, we welcome special guests into the conversation to get a unique insight into what they do to reach their pinnacle potential too. Tune in weekly every Friday so you don't miss a step.
Hey everybody, my name is Coach Vaughn, and we have an exciting episode in store for you today. I'm actually more excited and pretty nervous because this is like the first special guest I've had on, and I shouldn't be as nervous and excited as I am, but also it makes sense because it's my wife, Kayla Shabeck Guillen.
Hi.
And that's exactly what makes this episode so special, because it is the first one and she is very special to me. You guys will learn a lot more about her as we go forward in this conversation, as we have a conversation about our own experiences and anything along those lines of what we do to reach our pinnacle health potential also. So before we dive into that, I just want to know if we could learn a little more about you, what you do in the realm of health, and what makes you so passionate about the approach that you take in holistic health.
I feel like I haven't always been in the holistic health space. I think that's something that's developed over time. I really started with my spiritual and mental health, and then it kind of evolved into my physical health. I've had an autoimmune since I was 20 years old, so taking control of that and learning how to eat my body to feel it properly, and also establish a workout routine in the space of fitness that feels, there's a lot of misguiding information out there. And so when I was very first starting out, I was looking for the right tools, but what could also be maintainable for me. When we lived at GCU, it wasn't super helpful, or I wasn't the type of person to be disciplined enough to go to the gym every day. That really intimidated me. And so when I moved off of campus and lived at home, I started my health journey as at-home workouts. And that's something I still do to this day, now 5-6 years later, because it's maintainable for me. My fitness journey has evolved a lot in that time, but It's always been home-based workouts. And so that's something that just works for me, especially in this season as a mom, to be able to just jump out in the garage and get in a workout or do it in the playroom alongside the girls. Just that's what's maintainable for me in this season. If you know anything about our story, we've gone through loss and infertility. And so even before we started having a family, I knew that I wanted to prepare my body to have babies. That, again, started with my mental health, my spiritual health, my physical health. But the more that I learned after our loss was how much, the things we put in and on our body really affect that overall health and what type of host your body is. And so through losing my babies and learning about my body and how to better support the next pregnancy that we tried for, I've learned more and more things. And I still continue to every day to learn how to be a better mom, to learn how to be better for my girls, and what we use in our home, what we bring into our home. All of that has evolved into this holistic health approach that we now exercise every day.
Yeah, I have to agree with it, because the reason I wanted to have you on for today is the fact that we partner in the kind of lifestyle that we've created, this holistic, whether you put a W in front of that or not, just holistic, like whole foods, living, products, just everything that we do as we live, everything makes us and helps us operate within this household. We've made it a lifestyle, and everything's completely different outside of the fact that we eat ice cream multiple times a week. That's one thing that hasn't changed, and we love sour gummy worms. It's just part of our lifestyle. Those things are a piece of it. So we'll touch on this phrase that I really like to mention to my clients, and that I often share with those that I talk to on my stories, on Instagram, Facebook, anything like that. But for me, it's not really about saying no to something. It's more about saying yes to the right things and the right amount for that thing, because too much of anything is potentially a bad thing. If you drink too much water, you drown. It's just how it goes. But that's why I wanted to have you on, because people can see with the fact that it didn't just happen overnight. It didn't happen with just a month. It didn't happen over 6 months. I would say after 6 months is actually when we started to create some kind of habitual thing, because we've gone 20 plus years before that not living that way. How long would you say that it took you to kind of establish a lifestyle for yourself from the point that you're like, oh, I have this thyroid disorder, disease, what would you call it?
An autoimmune disease.
Autoimmune disease. So how long would you say that it took for you to get from that point where you discovered it until you found yourself saying this is my lifestyle, this is what I do?
Yeah, I would say that it's always evolving, it's always changing, and like day to day it looks different. My 100% of what I can give in terms of like my health routine looks different, and like different seasons of life, one thing has been more of a priority than the other. But from a fitness standpoint, I have been consistently working like exercise and movement into my routine for about 4 years. But in terms of like the external things that go into our body, like the toxins in our home, the products that we use, skincare, hair care, all of those things that have a huge role on your fertility. But like I didn't know that until later in my motherhood, rather than at the beginning of my journey. And so I would say that has really evolved in the last year and a half or so that we've then moved into that space. And there's so much more that I want to do. But again, doing one thing at a time, taking one small step at a time, one small change, or creating those small habits is going to add up to big change. It's not something you're going to be able to do overnight. And like that's what wasn't maintainable before. Like if I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to be a gym person. And that just wasn't realistic for me, and why I would fail at it. And then that failure left me stuck and not being able to start a routine. And so finding what does work and something that is going to fit in your schedule and like your lifestyle, your budget, all the things, but like not also making excuses. There's two sides to it. There's the discipline side to it, but then there's also the side of knowing what is maintainable for you and your family. And
Right.
so not being held back by the fear, but just like, okay, what do we value? What's important? And what can I do right now? Or what can I do in this season? Or if you break it down this week or 90-day stretch, whatever that looks like, to be able to implement those small changes over time.
I totally relate to that. It looks a little different for me, being the husband and the father, and I just don't go through a lot of the same processes, hormonally mainly, that you go through. We have a lot of different approaches and background that we individually have that we've had to make as a partnership and find a way to combine all of our goals, all of our visions for the future, anything along those lines. We've got to figure out how to combine it all together and make it work for us. And it's not like that one thing stuck the very first time that we figured that out.
Right.
It was completely different whenever we figured out as we were engaged, getting ready to get married. We got married March 2020, and then 2 days later, the world shut down, and we had to reestablish what that looked like then. And then went through our infertility timeline of like 2 years and just like various types of losses from there. And it looked different for each of those seasons. And then it looked even different for our first daughter. And now it's even different having two under two.
Yeah.
Every single season has looked completely different. We've had to partner in figuring out what does this look like. And I have to say, like, even my own workouts and my own programming in that sense, in the fitness world of things, it's completely changed. I've added conditioning because for some reason my daughter can outrun me around the island. She just doesn't have like a limit to her cardiovascular capacity. So I've incorporated conditioning. My workouts went from like an hour, 15 minutes to 45 minutes, and they're now around like 35 to 25 minutes most of the time. And that's just how it is. And we've had to be willing to adjust, but still have like a standard of things that we do by saying, yes, we're going to do healthcare.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think that's the biggest thing is like figuring out what is a priority and how you're going to make it a non-negotiable, but like how it looks implemented may change, and like being able to adapt with that through different seasons of life, because we have gone through so many changes. So I like that you bring that up of like what we still keep like the same pillars in our life, essentially, like, you know, nutrition, fitness, but like it looks different than it did 4 years ago compared to now, but there's still non-negotiables in our everyday health.
I'm glad that we've talked about it so far, and we sound on the most part like we sound like we're on the same page for things, and that's good. That's how it should be in a marriage. But with that being said, I would like to jump into the main topic for today and just hear your 2 cents, 3 cents, 5 cents, whatever cents you can give and provide and share with us today. Dieting isn't really something that we do because typically it's so restrictive. It tends to have like a negative connotation to it and the history of it, hence the New Year's resolutions that a lot of people have done, and we haven't done that in a few years. And there's a reason for that, and we may or may not get into that. But the only time we ever really feel like we need to diet or have like more of a strategic meal plan going forward is whenever we're trying to fix our gut health, is whenever we are searching for a specific goal. Like, what was it, back in December 2022, my friends and I, including my brother, we decided to make a challenge to where we're going to see how strong can we get in 4 to 5 months while maintaining our same body weight. And I took a very strategic approach on that, and the other guys, they took a very strategic approach on that. But that wasn't like my lifelong thing. It was just for that season, for a very specific goal.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't really diet. We try to maintain a whole food, holistic living and lifestyle with everything, and almost never for losing weight. So I personally believe, and also teach my clients the same approach, with the model that it's not about saying no to things or saying no to food. It's just about saying yes to the right things in the right amount. So what are your thoughts on that motto? And how do you see yourself applying that to your daily life?
So specifically for me, I just don't believe in diet culture because one, I just don't think it works. I think it can be super restrictive. I have a lot of passion for women's health and hormones, especially with everything I've learned through our own like fertility journey and just how much food affects for women specifically, how it affects our hormones, like how you eat different throughout your cycle, how you work out different during your cycle. And so dieting to me just does have a negative connotation. And so I think that the biggest thing is that you want to eat more clean than you eat dirty. And that's not to say that certain foods fit into good versus bad, or that you can't have certain things. Like, I don't ever like that verbiage either of like, oh, well, I can't have that, I'm on a diet. I think that that creates a negative relationship with food. It creates a negative relationship with trying to have health in general. Like, by saying those statements or by living that way is not healthy. Like, it's not a healthy mindset to have. And so I think that's when people either go 100% and then they fall off and you can't find that balance. And so it's like juggling without having the third ball in the air. Like, you're not actually creating that balance in your life. You're just, one ball goes up, one ball comes down, and that's the end of it. I would say the easiest thing to do when you're very first starting out of like wanting to eat cleaner is creating a meal plan for the week. And that could even be a couple days of like, okay, intentionally, I'm going to plan out my dinners. I think that's the easiest thing to do is dinners, because then that's going to create leftovers for lunch the next day. So then you've got your dinner and your lunch, and then you really just need to plug and chug breakfast and snacks, and trying to eat like higher protein, good fats, and not being afraid of carbs. But it's less about the carbs and it's more about like added sugars. I think here in America, everything is so highly processed and so much sugar and enriched with all these things and seed oils and all those. And not that you have to stay away from them, but just like looking at foods that is really going to fuel your body rather than cause the inflammation, cause the gut problems, and trying to eat the rainbow. No, not Skittles, but like in terms of fruits and vegetables and not as many processed snacks, like staying on those outer aisles of the grocery store rather than the inner aisles. Like, little tactics like that are going to help so much, at least from a nutrition standpoint, implementing into your health routine.
Right. I also just don't believe dieting is like the main end all be all. I don't think it should either also be where people start off with their journey. Definitely not. I've just never seen someone stick to it. Never. Even my own clients, it's just not maintainable. But with that being said, there are some times where you do need to say no to certain things, and those are the extremes. They're necessary sometimes, or maybe it's just like gut health, or your body just doesn't process that. Maybe it's overly sensitive to some things. For example, you have a gluten kind of intolerance and sensitivity. You still have some things don't bother you. But I mean, to be honest, you like beer. However, it does bother you. There's other wheats that bother you as well. And for me, I had a lactose intolerance for so long. I wasn't able to have whole milk. I was having almond, coconut, oat milk. And those are very highly processed things. But as I continue to focus on fixing my gut health and having a holistic lifestyle with my food, eating, and household items like just the cleaning products, like, it all changed. And now I only use whole milk now. And I think I'm thankful for that experience, and that I've experienced that kind of change over time. But it was over time. It wasn't within a month. It wasn't even the first year. I think I started drinking whole milk the end of last year of 2023. But my whole life before that, maybe around 7 years old, I didn't have whole milk because of my sensitivity. Have you experienced any kind of changes like that, to where maybe you weren't able to have it before, exploring how to fix the situation with your disease, and where you maybe dial some foods or drinks back, and now you're able to start having them again?
I think that your body learns over time what makes me feel good, and then your brain starts to learn that as well. And then when you're making those decisions, it doesn't feel as overwhelming or restrictive of like, oh, I can't have that. It's more of like, well, no, I feel like crap when I have that. So then you don't eat it as much, and you start to eat more of those things that are fueling your body and providing the nutrients, and that's what your body starts to crave. So I wouldn't say that I necessarily have a lot of foods that like I had before, couldn't have, and then now can have again, but it's more of like what my body has accustomed to wanting rather than what I used to crave or eat. Like in college, we lived off of tons of fast food, where now we eat like way less fast food because it just doesn't feel good. Yes, it's convenient, and that's why providing that balance of like, okay, well, some nights a week, yeah, we're busy, we're out with the kids, and we don't want to don't want to do dishes, those types of things. How does it make sense for my mental health? So prioritizing that rather than like the food quality and grabbing, something out. But if you're eating in more than you're eating out, you're drinking more water than you're drinking soda, like your body will start to be like, oh yeah, this feels really good. And you won't operate in this level of normal where we all have these chronic issues. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like I had a thyroid disorder and I felt terrible every day. I had brain fog. I struggled, through school trying to like figure out a sleep pattern and the way that my gut felt and headaches, and I had migraines for years. And so once I started to eliminate those things, those symptoms went away, and I realized, oh, that wasn't normal. It just had become my normal because that's the way that I was feeling and treating my body. And instead, I replaced those habits with healthier habits. My body started to feel better. My energy came back. We were able to get pregnant, like all of these things. I was like, well, obviously, I want to do and intake more of these good things rather than the things that wasn't serving me as well before.
So let's get to the base of the matter. So because I trust you in actually asking this, I know some people will be dying to know, but what is your advice for those that are considering a fad diet or trying to see if they're going to do a meal plan instead?
Fad diet, just no. Just no. Don't do that.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
That's the answer. Just don't do it.
It's just the answer. It will not give you the results that you're looking for. You're going to feel discouraged about yourself. You'll fall off, and then you'll be back at square one. So just don't do a fad diet. Following a meal plan, I think that we tend to overcomplicate this. Sit down with whoever is in your household or yourself if you just want to take control of what everyone's going to eat.
Yeah. Your partner, your teammate, just sit down with them.
Your kids, whatever, and figure out just some quick meals. A protein, a vegetable, a carb. That's honestly what I do when I meal plan for us, is I like try to throw in some diverse options of meats to switch it up during the week. A lot of chicken sausage, chicken. We eat a lot more white meat, and then all of our red meat, all of our beef, we buy directly from Shop Club. So I know that's the cleanest, and it's always out in the freezer. I will then just like get your meat, get your protein. If you're vegetarian or vegan, then like a tempeh or a tofu or something like that, or a plant-based protein main course, and then plug in your sides and just keep it super simple. Okay, this week I'm going to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm going to plan these are the dinners we're going to have, and then plan to make enough that you're going to have leftovers the next day. Great. Right. I've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, our dinner and lunch completely planned. And then for breakfast, skip all of the aisles that are donuts and cereals and all the things, because those are just going to leave you with a crash and you're just not going to feel good the rest of the day. So trying to prioritize more protein at breakfast. Get some eggs, get some breakfast sausage, throw it in the pan in the morning, throw some hash browns in there. You can add cheese, like all the things, but just make it quick and simple and don't overcomplicate it. Like, you guys, the earth has given us the best foods. God has given us the best foods. So cut those misconceptions is what they are. They are complete misconceptions about dairy, unless you actually have a lactose allergy or things like that. Like, we're not doctors, but from what I've learned as a woman in like the hormonal space, you need those things for your hormones. Your progesterone needs it, your estrogen needs it, all the things. So eat dairy.
So that is a meal plan. It's a lot more simple than you might think it is. And a meal plan is different from a diet overall. A diet is restrictive. You have to say no to things. You have to cut a whole bunch of other things out. Where a meal plan is like, what are you saying yes to? And to the right amount. It's just as simple as that.
And then for your Friday, you plan that we're going to eat out that day, because you know what? Like, when you're starting out, you don't have to go 100%. That also makes it not maintainable. So when I say like build that meal plan, yes, okay, Friday night we're going to go out to dinner. Friday night we're going to pick up something at the drive-thru. You have not lost your week. You have won the week because you've eaten more clean than you have not. Because if you didn't start the meal plan, you probably were going to eat out all nights of the week anyway.
Facts. She's spitting facts. She knows what she's talking about. You do have degrees.
I do. I have a bachelor's in behavioral health, which doesn't just apply to like, the typical behavior disorders. It really does apply to like behaviors in life. And I think that also plays into health and like that they're behaviors, they're habits that we choose to do to enhance our health. And then my master's is in health psychology. So I actually have quite a bit of knowledge under my belt in terms of applying these things from a holistic standpoint and the psychology behind that health approach, like true health, not sick health. We are not perfect by any means, you guys. I went to Culver's the other night. I got myself a full ice cream and I got the family size cheese curds. No, I did not eat them all by myself, but that is
She totally did.
It's balance. Like you can still have ice cream, but we eat clean the rest of the week. Like it's just a matter of like enjoying in those indulgences, but also knowing if I eat that every single day, I'm not going to feel good. I'm not going to have energy to show up for my kids. My gut is going to be a mess, all of these things. But if having it one day is not going to make or break my entire health journey. Having a grace-based approach when you are creating a health plan. And that's the thing, is like an approach. Like how can I do this with intention and then also have grace around it?
So what I want to do is I want to actually give you, the audience, whether you're watching or listening, 3 steps that I give my coaching clients so that way they are able to fit it into their lifestyle, fit it into the program, and it is what they follow when I give them a program for their lifetime that they're with me. Step 1 is I want you to figure out which goal is the most important to you. Yes, you can tackle multiple goals at once, like I'm doing it right now. I'm doing a few different goals all at the same time. But I want you to try to find out which one is the most important to you, which one is the most urgent, and then go after that one. And then set a standard for it. I have a quote, another model that I try to follow that I believe in, and it is the fact that not everyone will rise to their potential or their pinnacle potential, but everyone always falls to their standard. So if you set the right standard, the right baseline, which is opposite of the summit of a mountain, you set the right baseline, you know exactly where you're going to start from, and you can only go up from there. You're not going to go below that standard. You're not going to go below that baseline. That's where you start. That's your new standard. That's your new starting point. Step 2 is don't change your current food habits at all for, I would say, a week. Just give yourself a week and track what you are actually consuming. For my own clients, I have them do this for an entire week. They track what they're looking at, what they're drinking, what they're consuming, and they're making notes of it. They let me know exactly what they are, and I'll always ask them at the end of the days or at the end of the week whenever we do touch base, what proteins have you had? When did you have them? Because a lot of the times, like the sides, at least to me for the most part, they're usually more tasteful whenever you're looking at a platter. But that usually means that you're eating all these carb-loaded sides first and then having your proteins later on, or even intermittently, or
eat your protein first.
Yeah, I would suggest eating your protein first. They are more satiating. So eat those proteins first, then dive into the sides. And if that's still kind of a challenge for you, what I usually have my clients do is double up on the protein and go half on the sides. Simple as that. And then step 3, what I would say is after the first week, make all of our meals and snacks protein focused from that point on. And don't change your caloric intake. Just practice consuming protein focused foods first, because you need to reestablish your metabolism. You need to get your body used to wanting those things and using the energy that is there, because in reality, protein, it is a lot harder to burn in your body. So it uses a lot more energy. And I would give you an actual bonus step. So I'll say step 4, bonus step is if you're not already exercising, only add 2 20-minute workouts to your week with a focus on gaining strength. If you were sedentary or doing what we're doing now, where we're sitting down, that's a lot of what your job entails, and you were having an inactive life before, you'll see and feel enough of a difference just by doing those 2 small changes.
And that can even be a walk. Like if you are a completely sedentary person or you are a light active person, adding in a walk a day or a walk every 3 days, you're going to feel a huge difference. Like it doesn't have to be like, I got to go join a boot camp and I got to go sign up at Orange Theory. No, get outside. It's free. Walk on the sidewalk for 20 minutes. I promise you'll feel better. The vitamin D is going to hit your face. You're going to have the same high that you would from like a, high intensity workout, just by giving your body those nutrients that it's craving and has been depleted of.
And also the best time to do that is lunch or before lunch. Like anytime in the first half of your day is the best time to do that, because life happens. situations happen throughout the day, and usually by the end of the day, you're so exhausted and tired that you're not going to likely do it by the end of the day after work. Some people can with the right accountability, but a lot of times you do not. So as you guys know, whether there's a special guest on or I'm just going solo on this podcast, we have a set of 3 questions that I like to ask every single one who comes on. So here's the first question, Kayla. What does reaching your pinnacle potential look like for you today in this season of life?
Well, in this season of life, I have 2 under 2, and I'm also postpartum and breastfeeding. And so my main goals are that I'm prioritizing sleep as much as possible with a newborn and a toddler, because regardless of what I do during the day, sleep is the most crucial thing that my body needs to recover, but also to show up the next day. And if I am choosing one health habit, like sleep should be at the top in anybody's health journey. So, but for me as a mom specifically, sleep. I'm prioritizing hydration, so drinking lots of electrolytes and eating a ton of food. I'm not tracking my calories. I'm not stepping on the scale. I am just eating my body when it tells me that I'm hungry, because my body's in overdrive, chasing my toddler around all day, but also making milk. And so I'm not going to be restrictive. And that also in turn restricts my milk supply, and that is the opposite of what I want. So I am just eating to eat. Even if I out eat Vaughn, I don't feel bad about it. Not shameful here. And the third thing is getting in some type of movement. Sometimes that's 5 to 10 minutes. Other times that is a 30-minute workout. But for my mental health, it's not even for the aesthetic or to bounce back post baby. I have no interest in that. It's for me to have the patience, to have the mental capacity to show up, to be a wife, to be a mom, to my work, all the things that makes me feel so much better and doesn't get me into these depressive episodes. So my workout, eating and drinking as much as possible, and getting outside. It can be a challenge some days, especially with both girls, but I know our entire family is just in a better mood, and getting that vitamin D before it gets too hot here in Arizona, getting outside, even if it's only for 5 or 10 minutes a day.
I'm not excited for when it does hit the 120s in 2 weeks in a row, and you're just like, I can't even sit in the freezer and be okay. It's just not what it is. Well, you technically already answered the second question. The second question is, what's the number one thing you are doing right now to get yourself there? You mentioned a few steps. What would you say is the number one thing that you're doing to get yourself to that pinnacle potential?
I think making that my ground floor. Those are if I can hit the pillow every night knowing, okay, I got some type of movement in, whether that's I took the girls for a walk. Maybe I didn't get my full workout in, but I took them for a walk. So that's my workout, and I got outside. Mm-hmm. How much water I'm drinking and eating throughout the day, trying to always have our, kitchen stocked with foods, making sure that I'm on top of meal plans. I know those are not tangible steps, but it's just kind of what has become the norm now.
So that's your standard, right?
That I can set up a good week. Yeah. Going to bed a few hours after the girls go to bed so that I am getting at least a good chunk of sleep at night. And my mellow out. Can't live without that stuff.
It doesn't make a difference. I'm able to hit a deeper sleep when I do have it
100%.
for much longer. If I'm going to sleep for 5 to 6 hours and I have mellow out, I hit deeper sleep for more of that than I do when I don't have it. And do you feel the same?
Oh yeah, 100%. And even with broken newborn sleep, it's not something that's gonna it's not a sedative. It's not gonna right. knock you out, and you won't be able. It allows me to wake up and feed her, and then be able to fall back asleep faster, and get more restorative sleep when I am sleeping, compared to if I am waking up those broken sleeps and then I can't go back to sleep. I feel way more exhausted the next day.
Well, this is my third question, my last question, my favorite question, but religious or not, is there anything I could pray for you and for your journey?
I would just say our health journey post second baby, that we're able to continue to maintain a balance of helping each other prioritize our health, whatever that looks like from day to day, but also for my milk supply. I think that's a scary thing as a breastfeeding mom, is you could wake up the next day and your milk just might not be producing anymore.
Yeah,
so being intentional about prioritizing the things to make my milk so that I can feed my baby the best possible nutrients that my body can make.
I'll definitely pray for that, for you and for your fitness journey ahead, because it's really not just for you. It impacts me, impacts the whole household, it impacts even our dog, Sadie.
Yeah.
But definitely impacts our little ones, the 202 that we do have. But I just want to say thank you for having this conversation with us, letting them hear all of your knowledge and input in your 2 to 5 cents that you have given. Thank you for your help, advice, and that vulnerability. I know it's It was nerve-wracking, but now that we're here right now, it's like, oh, that was nice. That was kind of a nice conversation and time that we had.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to really thank you for listening in, not just for support towards me and what I'm passionate about doing, but also for taking a simple step forward to support your future too. If you found this helpful and want to support, please like, subscribe, or just follow. And also share it with someone that you know could use some positive guidance to help them reach their pinnacle potential too. God bless. Seriously.